Welcome to Marketing Blabs, the podcast where we dish out expert digital marketing advice without the sales spin. This pod is brought to you by Marketing Labs, a trusted and expert digital marketing agency based in Nottinghamshire. We're excited to bring you a fresh new season, packed with Q&As, topical discussions, campaign reviews and more, with a few laughs from the team along the way. Our goal is to give you the insights and knowledge you need to grow your business online without the jargon or fluff. Enjoy. Hello and Happy New Year to all our listeners. For any new listeners, I'm Tom Haslam, Creative Director here at Marketing Labs, and I'm pleased to be hosting the first episode of 2025 and the start of Season 2 of Marketing Blabs. We're kicking off the new year with a fresh perspective, and what better way to do that than by going back to basics and exploring where to start with digital marketing in 2025. In this new season, we're committed to bringing you even more insightful conversations about real-life marketing campaigns, Q&As, actionable tips, and expert advice to help you navigate the ever-changing world of digital marketing. Joining me today is our Head of Digital, Nick Janaway.
Hi, Tom.
Our SEO Executive, Tilly Hayes.
Hiya.
And last but not least, our Social and Content Exec, Kyle Walton.
Hi, Tom.
How are we all doing, guys?
Good, thank you. Are you?
Yeah? You're good after your little starting fit?
Yeah, we've also got special guests as well.
Oh, yeah.
Today.
Should we get him in?
Yeah.
Oh, go on then. We've got Ron Haslam on the pod with us today.
Tom's
Ron's
dog.
our security guard. Welcome, Ron. So we're here to talk about digital marketing strategy in 2025. So what do we think the key things to consider are when you're starting any digital marketing strategy?
I think a big part of starting out is considering who your audience might be. So doing lots of research about who you want to be targeting, what are their preferences, online behaviours. You can use lots of tools to do that. So look at Google Analytics, social media insights, surveys for gathering data as well. That's always a good start.
Even just simple questionnaires you can
Yeah.
send out to people you think is your target audience. Just having something's good to start with, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so on the back of what Tilly said, I think kind of with your audience as well, a good idea to be a starting point is to also set those kind of clear goals and objectives. You need to be aware of what you want to achieve, kind of what you want to do with maybe it's an ad, maybe it's a paid social, something along those lines. Is it brand awareness? Are you trying to get traffic? Are you trying to get sales? You need to be aware of your goals, and you need to make them specific as well. You know, you need to outline specifically what it is that you want to do. Maybe on that kind of one ad, you want to increase website traffic. Maybe you want to get a certain number of clicks or a number of impressions or a certain number of reach. I think that's a key point. Once you've kind of got that audience and you're ready to start a campaign, it's set out those goals as well.
And they need to be measurable goals as well, don't they? Whether they're
100%,
like
yeah.
measurable by time. Make sure they're achievable as well, because you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot before you even begin.
Yeah.
A lot of businesses just spread themselves too thin, at least initially, I think, and they don't really know what they're doing and have no sort of idea of what they want to try and achieve. So
I think one of the big
right.
things as well to consider, as well as what the guys have just said, is actually how are you going to talk to your audiences? And obviously one of the big benefits of understanding who your audience is to talk to them in a particular way. So you're going to define your audience first, you're going to understand how you can reach them. But then actually there's not a huge amount of point doing that if you're going to talk to everybody in the same way. So what are you going to say differently to somebody that you've gone out of your way to kind of segment and find? And how are you going to communicate to them? What messages are they receptive to? And then kind of pulling all that together to understand actually what's going to work best for that person. And, you'll get a lot more bang for your buck, so to speak, doing that.
yeah, it's like adjusting your messaging by audience segment, because you might have one core audience, but there might be a few different segments within that.
Something
You
else
wanna
that
try.
goes hand in hand with what Nick just said is thinking about the types of platforms that you want to be part of your marketing strategy, because not everyone's going to be on certain platforms, or it's not going to be right for your audience specifically. So, for example, if you've got a younger audience, you might want to use TikTok. More corporate audience, you might want to use LinkedIn, for example.
Talking about different audience segments, do we think that buyer personas are still helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're a kind of a way to, in a sense, humanise your audience. You need to be aware of who they are, what their needs are. They're not just kind of data on a screen. You need to know your audience so that you know how to speak to them, as Nick mentioned. You know, if you're a sustainable company, your audience is going to be kind of high on sustainability as well. You need to get those kind of points across: environmentally sustainable, eco-friendly, those kind of keywords across as well. That's how you properly speak to your audience, and that's why buyer personas are so helpful, because it gives you that understanding.
Yeah, and at least things to test as well, because you might want to test a few different buyer personas.
Exactly, yeah.
And it helps you target your content a little bit, doesn't it?
And messages across buyer personas. You know,
Yeah.
people will be receptive to different things. You know, depending on what your product is and what your kind of USP is, they might be slightly different things for different personas and different people. Something will be more important for Group A than it will be for Group B. So, how can you get that across, and how can you reinforce that message to your the people that are going to buy your product or use your business?
I think over time as well, personas can be refined as well, can't they? Like your audience might change or evolve, and then it's just about refining everything as you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, kind of your behaviours, your needs of your audience are always going to change. Your platform that you're on is always going to change. That's digital marketing. Everything is going to change. You need to be aware of those. You need to adapt in a sense, and with those buyer personas, like you mentioned, Tom, they are going to refine over time, because behaviours of customers, of consumers, are going to change as well.
Well, you think recently there's some great examples of that. So if you go back 5 years, TikTok wasn't really a thing then. And over that 5-year period, there's so many consumers of TikTok who that becomes part of their daily habit now, whereas that wasn't a thing before. And they might be predominantly young people, but those young people at some point will become your business users. So making sure that you have an understanding of what platforms are the most effective to reach audiences, is critical.
Yeah, I think it's important to consider all of that. Audience is quite a big thing. What about tips? Are there any tips that we can give to businesses when they're trying to set the right goals?
As I mentioned before, it's important that those goals are measurable. So something specific. So let's say you want to increase organic traffic over like the first year of your business or whatever. Rather than just simply having the goal rather than just having a goal to increase more traffic, maybe you want to increase it by 50% or 60%. And it's much more measurable that way, so you can go into analytics and see how that's changed over time more easily.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, take it right back to the basics and do your SMART goals. Make sure that they're specific, measurable, achievable. Make sure that they're relevant. Time bound. All of that stuff. If you're kind of fresh into digital marketing and you're not too aware of how to plan a strategy, SMART goals, as basic as it may seem, that's what's going to give you an outline for actual realistic goals that you will be able to achieve.
I think the biggest part of that as well is tying or understanding at least how your goals tie into a strategy. You've got an outcome here that you're trying to achieve, but what are the steps that you're going to take in order to achieve that outcome? That could be lots of different things for lots of businesses, but as Tilly was saying, if it's an organic thing, for example, what are those keywords that's going to allow you to increase your organic traffic by 60%? Have you got a target? Is there a particular page? Is there a section of content? Is it a particular creative across video? Or what is that thing that you need to do, and break it down and distill it into the fundamentals, if you like. And then once you've got a view of that, you can then start to build that up and say, okay, well, we might get, of that 60% increase, we might get 5% in this area if we do this thing. And then build and build and build and add layers to that. And then at the end of the year, you probably get somewhere close to that with a thorough kind of well thought out kind of plan, I suppose.
I think it's about setting budgets as well and being realistic with what budgets you've got. Shameless plug, but we've got a 1-page marketing plan template that we created. It's on Canva. We'll put the link in the video below. But that just helps you segment out what channels you want to market on, what your budgets are going to be, what your goals are. So feel free to use that. Which leads me on to sort of my next question. How do businesses or marketing teams decide what channels to focus on? And are there any key considerations there? Because I guess it comes back to what you just said about business objectives. But what would we say from that side of things when deciding what channels to focus on?
It all ties together really, doesn't it? Because you need to understand your audience. You need to understand your messaging that you're going to serve to your audience. And part of understanding your audience is understanding where you can reach them. So Depending on what that means for your business, it might mean that a lot of your audience is on Instagram, for example, as opposed to Facebook, or some of your audience might be on Facebook, some of your audience might be on Instagram. It might be that actually a lot of them are on TikTok now. Depending on your product, it might be that you sell a lot more of that through search or paid search or other paid channels. And depending on your objectives, it might be that you need to do more broadcast activity. So you could be on, in the UK at least, broadcast VOD across Channel 4, for example, or Sky, the media assets that Sky have. Or, you have videos across YouTube, for example. So all of that will be tied back to what your starting point is and what that looks like for strategy. But I do think businesses often get confused with what their objectives are versus kind of vanity objectives or things that aren't quite as measurable but look good, for example. So especially small businesses, they might think they need to build their brand presence on Instagram, for example. So they put a lot of focus on there, when in actual fact that's not necessarily immediately supporting their business. So it's not that it's a bad thing to do, because that could build to something over time, but actually it's not guaranteed to drive performance for you in the short term. So understanding kind of the makeup of what your strategy looks like and what you're trying to achieve, and actually, are you growing your audience here in order to provide revenue for you, or is it kind of a vanity audience that might not deliver anything for your business for a year or two?
Mm-hmm. I think when it comes to marketing teams, it's about identifying what skills or constraints you've got within that team to then, if you're going to work with an agency, decide what channel you're going to outsource to that agency.
I think it's also important to consider budget as well, because if you think TikTok, for example, is your main channel and you go all in all at once with all of your budget, it's probably not the best idea. So maybe consider the wider picture and what other channels you might be using before you spend all your budget.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of kind of small businesses may go wrong, is your target audience may be on a few different platforms, or you kind of just have to trial and error a few of those platforms, and you have to go where the performance is. It's all well and good, you may be, like you mentioned, Tilly, you might be targeting a Gen Z audience, and TikTok, that's a big one for Gen Z, and then just gambling your money on that sort of thing. You don't know, your performance may be somewhere different, so you may be better off on a different platform. So you have to trial and error a few of those platforms to see kind of what is working best for you and your business.
Yeah.
And it might be as part of that as well, that actually you are reaching your audience, and you might be reaching a lot of them very well at a very efficient rate, but actually you've not got the right message.
Absolutely.
For example. So having iterations of advertising messages or videos or whatever your brand message is, just seeing what works, using a test budget and trying to understand actually what makes an impact for my business. Can I do this? Does it work? No. Okay, well, let's not spend any money on that. But actually, can I change it to, the intent might be slightly different, or the naming conventions of your products, or, how you showcase them on video or whatever it might be slightly different. And then actually that might be more receptive to those audiences. So, just thinking carefully about how you want to kind of showcase your products and business, I think can make a real difference.
When considering KPIs, what do we think that businesses should be tracking?
I think on my side of it, on the kind of the social side of it, you need to be looking at engagement rate, you need to be looking at click-through rate, your follower growth, how are your ads performing to your audience? You need to have a look if what your, as we mentioned earlier, the message and the creative, is that working? You'll see via the click-through rate and how people are engaging on that post. If you don't see much of that, it's likely you'll need to adapt, you'll need to change, and you'll need to go again.
So Kyle's mentioned a lot of the more social-focused KPIs. But if you're looking to increase organic traffic, it's a good idea to track things like total visitors and time spent on your site as well, which will also give you a good idea for engagement, and if you need to start implementing any optimizations on your pages or across the site in general.
I think time on site is quite a big one, to be fair, because you can get loads of clicks or traffic or page views or whatever, but if they're only staying there for a second...
4 seconds, and then go in.
So there are two views of that as well. So what Kyle and Tilly was just talking about is a kind of a short-term view of your KPIs, and you want to track how successful a campaign might be or a short period of time. But actually there are a long-term view as well. So you might want to track your brand mentions, for example. You might want to track how many people are searching for your brand, or a variety of different KPIs relating to kind of brand measurements and how people feel about your brand, whether, positive or negative sentiment, that sort of thing. And, ultimately revenue over a period as well. So how can you grow your business what objectives do you put in place in order to measure that over time, and then take the similar process or the same process to understand actually how you're going to achieve that. So, you might have milestones across quarters or whatever it might be. A different messaging or sentiment of messaging might go in towards building what that looks like. And actually, can you see over time your brand improving in terms of its visibility in search or other KPIs? And obviously, the more you grow your brand, ultimately the more revenue as a brand or a business you'll deliver.
I was also going to say about monthly reporting as well is a good idea, to look back on those KPIs, like what we do for clients, or maybe like a year on year for a particular month, especially if your business is seasonal, is always a good idea.
So I know I asked this earlier, sort of, but how do businesses or bigger teams decide whether to hire in-house or outsource to an agency? What do we think about that?
It depends on the skill set of the teams, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How those teams are made up internally. And I suppose that's down to the business, the managers within that business to understand and I suppose do some SWOT analysis to understand what their strengths and weaknesses are and actually whether that needs to be complemented with an external team. Very often people choose external teams because they have a very particular skill set. Sound like Liam Neeson there. But they have a skill set that maybe is better equipped to achieve against goals of specific things. So although your in-house team probably is capable of doing a lot of things, they might not have a particular expertise in a certain area that can be helped.
I think budget considerations are really important as well. So if you're thinking about hiring a marketing exec in-house, for example, you've got a lot more upfront costs to that. So you have to think about like salaries, any other additional costs that go into factor into it. Whereas an agency, it's often more flexible, where you can pay for specific projects, whether that be short or longer term, and it can often work around you a lot better.
What would we all say are the main benefits of working with an agency, though, for digital marketing support?
I think, as Nick mentioned, is that if you want to go in-house, you need to make sure that everybody on that team has the skill set that you are required for. If you're going for an agency that you are guaranteed that. That you're going to have someone who's specialised in SEO, in PPC, in social, all of those kind of in content as well, in maybe copywriting. That you're going to have those members of the team that are skilled in every single department. Going in-house, you're not guaranteed that. You may have someone who may have a little bit of experience in every single one, but is that going to be enough for like you, Tilly mentioned, is that going to be enough for a big campaign? There's no guarantee that it will be.
I think ideation as well. There's a thing around thinking through ad messages and how actually tailoring those to audiences, as we discussed earlier. Actually pulling those together takes a lot of thought and consideration at times, and it's not always just a simple brand message, or it's not always a simple piece of ad copy that's going to work the best for you. So thinking through what that means as part of a wider campaign, all those iterative stages that go through it, and making sure that you build the best version of the ads that you have, make sure that you cut and edit the ads to show your product or your brand in the correct way or in the best way. Agencies typically have a lot of skill in that area because they do it for lots and lots of different clients across a lot of different industries. So there will be a huge amount of resource and insight that they can pull that can go into benefiting businesses that they acquire from elsewhere. So that's definitely one of the big benefits of it.
Sometimes it's more beneficial as well, isn't it? Because an agency's worked in the same industry as you.
Yeah.
So they've got expertise, they know the market and things like that.
Yeah, if they've worked with a client in that industry before and they know they've got good results, then we can match it.
Scalability is another one. So you might find that you'll scale quicker with an agency rather than pumping a lot more additional time and resources into your own internal team. You can just get started really quickly with an agency quite often.
Training, good example.
Training, budget to hire them, all things like that you might not think of.
Yeah. I think an outside perspective when working with an agency is good as well, because a lot of businesses, they're so close to their own business, they might not fully understand where they need to go with it. So
what's holding them back sometimes.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Too close to it.
Yeah.
It can be a real benefit as well, though, obviously, having someone in-house who really kind of lives and breathes the brand and what they're trying to achieve and how they're trying to push that forward. I think it can be a benefit, but very often it's balancing that with kind of that expertise, as Tilly mentioned.
I find with in-house teams, they're really good, but they end up doing lots of different things and sometimes get a little bit stretched, which is hard. I think digital marketing managers have a tough job in that respect. moving on then, have we got any digital marketing tools that we can provide or explain over this video for businesses to start using?
Ahrefs or SEMrush are the primary ones for SEO monitoring. So there's loads of things you can do with those. Check my previous short on Ahrefs.
Nice little plug to that.
So you can do everything from keyword research, monitoring the keywords that you're ranking for, mini website audits, content ideas. So, yeah.
I think using the free tools as well, where they're relevant for your business, I think can be really valuable. So, Tilly just mentioned there kind of the ones that are paid, but you could also use Search Console, making sure that you have that set up on your site, and that will give you some data that's specific to your website, not necessarily your industry, but that can be really helpful. And then obviously analytics platforms, whether it's kind of, I guess Google's the standard, but a variety of different analytics platforms, making sure that you understand your own data can be really, really helpful. And obviously that's free, so it's definitely worthwhile checking those out.
Yeah, and I think on my side as well, kind of going away from the website side, on the social side, I think Ads Manager's brilliant for kind of what it is. You've got all your content there in one. You've got every kind of metric that you need to have a look at. It's all there for you. And as silly as it may sound, on the creator side as well, you've got so many amazing free tools now that business can utilize if you do in-house, and that's kind of, you've got Canva, which I think is huge now. I think that's a massive thing now for businesses. You don't need kind of Adobe nowadays. You don't have to pay that £8 a month or whatever it may be nowadays. You can just rely on Canva as well now to create those graphics.
You were probably getting the student rate at £8 a month because we don't pay that.
I paid £8 a month when I was in college. I paid £8 a month
for the full suite.
Yeah,
That's
I get
crazy.
Yeah.
It's like 30 or something now.
Oh no, it's more than that.
Is it?
I think we pay.
Josh pays something ridiculous, like 70 quid or
I
something.
think as an
outrageous.
agency our fee's 70 quid a month or something for it, for 2 seats. So
The other thing to mention as well is a lot of time the platforms themselves have a lot of insight that they'll provide for you. So Pinterest have got a great one, for example. TikTok have got a great one where you can go in there and just look for trends and look see what's happening and what's emerging, and is that something that you can get into. You know, it's a very, very easy way of understanding kind of what emerging trends are and actually whether it's relevant for you. And then in the same token for search, Google Trends across there, you can pick out some things that are fast moving or relevant in other areas. So there's definitely ways of trying to find what you need to look for. It's just that it might come across a lot of free tools, or it might be that there's a couple of paid ones that do all of that. But yeah, there's definitely a lot that you can do to figure that out.
on the PPC side, is Google Keyword Planner free?
Yeah. I find it's probably the most accurate source for keyword research in terms of looking for volume statistics and things like that as well.
Nice. So some tools there that we can share with everybody. Finally then, wrapping up, I've got asked for some examples of any campaigns that you've already seen this year. So considering it's the 17th of Jan, I've only been back at work, 15 days, working days. Any campaigns in 2025 that have caught your eye? Tills, I'll come to you first.
It's not so much like a big campaign or anything, but did you see the Doritos one? Where they were teasing the new square Doritos.
Oh, really? Have they got some square ones?
Well, I don't know if it's satire or something that's in the pipeline, but it caught my attention.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you like Doritos, Tills?
Yeah.
Do you?
I love. What's your favourite flavour?
Chili.
Cool Original.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's
no.
a shocking choice.
Or tangy cheese. I'll go back and forth between those two.
Poor.
Chili
Do you like
Heatwave's
chilies?
rotten.
No, it's not.
That's the best one.
Is there a barbecue flavour?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It's like in a dark brown packet.
What do you all think of original? Not Cool Original, the...
Lightly salted original.
Tills knows it.
It's good with guac.
Yeah. Cool
Cool.
Original, did you say?
No,
I
chili
did.
heat
Oh,
wave.
yeah.
Cool.
I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you got one, Kyle? Campaign?
Yeah, so I've gone for Google Pixel, actually, and they've got a Switch with Sol campaign. So it's a bit of influencer marketing. It's Sol Campbell. He's basically speaking about now's the time to switch over. Maybe the grass is greener on the other side. Basically talking about switching over from iPhone to Google Pixel. And obviously it all relates to when he did leave Spurs to join Arsenal back in the early 2000s. I think it's brilliant. I think there's so many kind of little things in that video that you'll notice when he starts to actually switch. You'll see him going from a white jumper to a red jumper. I think it's brilliant. I think they've done a really good job of
I've seen that
influencer
one.
marketing. Yeah, I think it's they've done a really good job on that.
It's quite cool. Have you got one, Nick?
Yeah, kind of. I've actually not really been inspired by many this year. And like you say, it's only 17 days in. But what I have seen recently that I really thought was very clever was the curries in real life ads.
I haven't seen that one.
So they've got a series of...
Oh, is it that the one where they do the... Have they done the air fryer one?
Yeah,
That's quite cool.
So there's a series of them, and this I think is cheating a little bit because I think it was actually last year that they've introduced this. But I've seen some where they have influencers that go to store and they swiping across products, and they're just doing kind of online behaviour in store. And obviously, it's quite a clever way of getting people back in store potentially, and just showing that actually there is a benefit sometimes of actually going to pick up the product physically, having a proper look at it and seeing what it looks like before you actually buy it, and then wait for a couple of days to be delivered. So I thought that was quite a clever take on to getting people back in store, really, all the benefits of getting people back in store.
I realised
Nice.
I didn't actually describe what the Doritos campaign was, did I?
No.
It was basically, I only saw it on Instagram. It was just a simple graphic, the shape of things to come
Oh, that's quite cool.
on
Nice
a
and
black
simple.
background. I think it's more so the fact that it shocked everyone rather than it being a clever marketing campaign. Well, it is clever in that way, but
Yeah. Maybe it's
a bit like
a little
Jaguar.
test.
It's so out of the
Yeah.
box that
Yeah.
it's like everyone's talking about it.
Well, everyone's so used to the triangular shape for Doritos, so
Yeah.
it's just maybe they're just trying to shake it up a bit. No pun intended.
Is it really bad that I didn't actually realise or appreciate that they were triangles?
Yes.
What?
I wouldn't have known if they were square. I wouldn't have realised.
No, you're winding us up. Which brings me on to my campaign. Cadbury launched a video campaign in partnership with Alzheimer's Research UK, and it was just a 60-second film where a daughter gifted her father a bar of whole nut, and it was just about their connection and giving and stuff. And it's just a brand awareness campaign, but I thought it was quite good how they put it together. Cadbury consulted dementia specialists and extended the partnership with Alzheimer's Research UK.
Oh, that's what it is.
So
Alzheimer's research.
that's where they got the storytelling from about the dementia research.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was quite a moving little video, and I thought it was quite good.
I might be a bit controversial here, so I don't know whether to say it or not.
Go on.
I don't like it when brands do that.
Do you not?
Well, no, I do. If they're genuinely raising and trying to promote and help people become aware of problems in society, and I think that's fine. But they have to be very careful with it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right. To be fair, I think sometimes brands just jump on stuff like that because they think it's going to work.
Just jump on a bandwagon.
'Cause
We're
it's a
going to
good
try and
thing,
get
yeah.
exposure, and we're going to try and cash in on that because it makes us look good. Now, I hope Cadbury's, if they have done that, I hope they've given a sizable amount of money to whatever that charity is.
Well, I'm going to wrap the pod up there, everyone. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you next time.
Cheers, Tom.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Marketing Blabs, where we've been exploring the essentials of getting started with digital marketing in 2025. Remember, starting a digital marketing strategy is just the first step. It's ongoing experimentation, measurement, and optimization that leads to success. Before we go, don't forget to check out our one-page marketing plan template to help you clarify your goals and objectives. And if you're looking for more digital marketing insights and tips, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on socials. Thanks again to the ML team for sharing their expertise and experiences. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to discuss, please reach out to us. Until next time, stay curious, keep on marketing, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.